Hey there, Libra. Welcome to your reading this is your October bonus reading. We are going to jump right in here. You have this Imam Quayle card. It says Root. You have this 6th house. It says Sustainability on it. And you could be very focused on stability just in general this week, even though the 6th house says Sustainability. I also do feel it is a good time for you to focus on things that are sustainable. Really, everybody. I mean, it's like there's a lot of astrology going on right now where it's like if you're wasting your time or if you're doing things the hard way, it's just going to make your life harder, right? And so the astrology wants us to focus on things that we can do forever. Mostly Neptune going into Pisces. In the middle of this month, Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces. And like I've said to everyone, it's like if you're not inspired to do something, you're going to have a hard time doing it. Again, if you are working on things that do inspire you, then it'll be super easy. And, I would just make sure that you're focusing basically on inspiration. You have the Ace of Wands as your first card. So the Ace of Wands wants you to follow your inspirations, mostly new inspirations. The Ace of Wands is out with the old, in with the new, and so a lot of you could be focusing on new things. It seems to me like a lot of people have been getting these readings that say that we should be focusing on doing things that we can do endlessly. I would also be, just looking around here for you, Libra, I would be like careful of comparing yourself to other people. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're working on something new, like a new project, new business, new idea, if you compare yourself to other people, you would end up doing it harder than it needs to be. And I feel this is saying like allow things to be easy and kind of like work within your limits or something like that is definitely popping into my head. I do like that you start with Ace of Wands. I mean, it's one of my, it is my favorite card in the tarot because sometimes I think the Ace of Wands is just that one thing we need, that, spark of hope or that spark of inspiration that really gets us motivated, gets us moving, makes us successful, all that other good stuff. And so for a lot of you, I feel this could be, like a spark of hope or a spark of inspiration that's coming in for you here, and I do like it. You have the Knight of Cups as your crossing energy, which is kind of funny because the Knight of Cups, sure, it could be love, it could be a knight in shining armor. We can talk about that, but the Knight of Cups is very dreamy, and this could be inspiration, right? So the thing about the Knight of Cups is that I dropped him, and he's standing in the desert, but there's water flowing in front of him. This is the time that we're in. We are in a time where it might look like we don't have the resources necessary to get something to grow, but we should start it anyway, even if we think we can't do it, whatever it is. Like if you are inspired to start a project or inspired to put yourself out there for love or inspired to improve your health, you might not think that it's possible. But it actually is if you get started, right? And like I said, this perfectly describes the energy that we're all dealing with. I always say the challenge with Neptune and Pisces, especially when it's retrograde, is that it's like you should only work on things that you feel inspired to do. The problem is that you have to get started to get inspired. But it's like the other problem with it is usually we don't feel inspired, so we have a hard time picking like what we should be working on in life, in all areas of life. But again, the challenge is that you have to get started to get inspired, but then you're like, what the hell do I start? I'm not even feeling inspired. And so it's a little bit of a mind effort, right, Libra? And again, there really is no good answer other than to just try a couple of things that you think might be exciting for you, even if you don't feel excited. And then once something does excite you, keep going, right? And I kind of feel that could be just a little bit of a challenge this month. I don't actually feel it's that big of a deal. The reading itself looks pretty positive so far. So again, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But again, if there's something you want to do, I would just get started because the inspiration will probably come. You have the King of Wands in the area of what's on your mind or the area of your thoughts. The King of Wands is about needing to be bold, assertive, confident. I do feel like some of you have a person on your mind. And again, obviously that's only for those of you that do. So again, if you do, I do feel like you could be thinking about a person. I actually feel pretty good about it just in general. Like if you have your mind on a person, I think this could go well. For others, I feel that, for all of you, I should say, he is a visionary. I think that's something that people forget about the King of Wands. He's a little bit futuristic. He's almost intuitive. He has these like visionary ideas for his life. And again, I think those are the ideas that I would be working on if I were you. Is like those ideas that are more inspirational, more visionary, more about your future life. I would also make sure that you start it you start something sustainably. With that sustainability card. It reminds me of YouTube. It's like I've known so many people on YouTube where it's like they post as many videos as I do, which I don't think anybody should. I post like a billion. I don't know. I post like I was looking at my numbers. I posted like 450 videos last month or something crazy like that. So again, is that a good number? Hell no, right? I have no life basically. So that's what I'll say there. But again, I would start something from a sustainable perspective. Like if you're starting a project or a business, it's like how much can you get done in a reasonable amount of time, and how much can you get done that where you don't burn out. And that's what I would be focusing on with the King of Wands. Something that I've said to others as well is we have Pluto and Aquarius, especially for you air signs, right? This is going to be like how you make an impact in the world, or a lot of you could be doing things to make an impact. But the other thing that I would say is we also have Uranus and Gemini, and we also have several other things that I think are encouraging efficiency. So your last card is the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is a card of tactics, right? I think it is a great, amazing freaking time for people to be more tactical in what they're doing, which means like it's not so much about the numbers of what you're doing, right? It's more about the impact that the things you do make. What the hell am I talking about, right? Well, it's like I could do a video about how to get a girlfriend, right? There's like a million of those on YouTube, right? Or how to get a boyfriend, and there's a million of those on YouTube. It's like that. Maybe that would get views, maybe it would do well, but probably not. But if I made it more exciting, like if I said, how to attract your ultimate soulmate into your life, that maybe would get a little bit more attention, right? Because I packaged it differently. Same amount of work, but just different packaging. That's what I mean by being tactical. It's like there are, in everything we do, there are probably more tactical ways we can do things so that when we do them, we have a bigger impact, right? And that's really what I feel the King of Wands is wanting you to focus on. Is like you could probably do the same amount of work that you're doing right now, but if you look at your approach, maybe there are different approaches that would make you stand out more, or would have a bigger impact. And that is how I would be thinking if I were you right now, Libra. I hope that makes sense. Probably not, because that didn't even make sense to me. But there you go. You have the Death card in the area of your foundation. The Death card changes, right? I mean, definitely changes happening for you at this time. I think you being an air sign, Pluto's ending its retrograde the middle of this month, and it will go direct. It's still in Aquarius. Then Uranus next month will go retrograde in Taurus, and it's in Gemini right now. So obviously not your sign, but it doesn't really matter. Being an air sign, it's going to affect you. And, I think for Libra, it's going to be creating these changes in your life. The King is dead underneath the Death Rider on the Death card. And the King being dead kind of represents the death of establishment. That is the time that we're in, basically, is the death of establishment. You can see it happening everywhere. Basically, things that have been established for a long time are going away, right? I just heard about some other company that just went under. I can't remember who it was, but maybe some of you will know. Like a company that's been around for a long time. But again, we're going to see a lot of that. And so on a personal level, Libra, we need to look at our old story. And we need to look at the things that we've believed for a long time, or the things that we've been doing for a long time. And we just need to see, like, do these things support me, or do they help, or do these ideas I have about myself, are they nurturing my soul or not? And again, I can't answer any of those questions for you, but I would be, looking at things, and anything that no longer serves you, I would change it or get rid of it, right? Because it's just a really good time to do it. Next, in the area of your past, this is the energy you're moving past. You have this Endless Possibilities card and this Grand Symphony card. Yeah, we are in a time of possibilities. Uranus and Gemini for sure. Even though it's going to be retrograding next month into Taurus, it is retrograde right now. I would still say that it doesn't matter. Uranus has already entered Gemini, and I encourage everyone to make sure that anything that you're doing in your life, that you look at it from all perspectives. And, I always use the example, like, this is the back of my hand, this is the front of my hand, right? And it's like, that's before Uranus and Gemini. Uranus and Gemini is like a 3D scanner. It's like there's in between my fingers, there's like this perspective, this one over here, like all the way around, right? We have to, anything that we're doing, we have to kind of look at it from all possibilities, because you never know what you might discover, right? The Grand Symphony card is like, ending a project, bringing things to a conclusion. Some of you could be doing that. You have the Queen of Pentacles also in the past, which is, I think you get the Queen of Pentacles with me a lot, if I'm not mistaken. Queen of Pentacles is about your resources. I feel like your days of having to be resourceful are kind of coming to an end. And I mean that in a good way. It's like, I kind of feel for many years, as we've talked about before, Libra, that you have had to, like, not, maybe you haven't been scraping by, but, it's like maybe you've had to be more resourceful, more careful of your spending and things like that. Again, I'm definitely not encouraging you to go on a spending spree here or anything like that, but I kind of feel the energy is loosening up. That grip on your finances is, and this isn't going to happen overnight, but, over the next, little bit of time here, I think you're going to notice that the grip on your finances is becoming less and less. And that is probably a good thing. It'll make you feel like you have some breathing room, right, is the message that I'm getting here. Next, in the area of your very near future, you have this unlocking card. It says resolution, revelation, openings. It says openness, new path, solutions, destiny, success, significant, answers, and influential. You have this thief card. It says loss, abandonment, disappearance, missing someone or something, theft, deficiency, energy vampire removed. I would be careful of any energy vampires at this time for sure. The other thing I would say is that I do feel good about this, but I also would be careful with your ideas with that thief card. You have the Three of Pentacles here. And so the Three of Pentacles says that you need to be the one that is getting credit for the work that you have done. These people are coming in a support position. I feel like I've been saying this to you a lot over the past couple months, so it seems to be a theme. I would make sure, the thief card could say that someone's trying to take credit for your work or whatever. I don't think there's any benefit to being paranoid right now because of Neptune going into Pisces in the middle of the month, right? It's bad if you feed the paranoid side, but I would also say I would just make sure that people know who did what in anything that you're working on here. You do have this good card, though, that says Revelations, the unlocking card, solutions, destiny. Three of Pentacles can represent getting or finding solutions with other people with this Three of Pentacles. And, one thing I will say is that she has this plan that she's holding on to. So it's like, these are the plans for what he built right here. We have Mercury going retrograde next month in November. We enter into the shadow on the 21st of this month, October. And what I would say here is I do think with this Mercury retrograde, it might, if you're following a plan, right? Or if you're following some instructions, it might be a good time for you to like revisit those instructions, make sure you're doing things in the right way. Next, in your outcome row, you have this clear your energy card and this avoid drama card. Yes, everybody pretty much has had something that basically says avoid drama. So what I will say is next month we have Uranus opposing Mars, which is a little bit of a sketchy energy, right? And I've been saying to people all year, right? Like no road rage, no starting arguments in the home and things like that. It's like one of those things. Even if you're right, let it go. If someone is trying to argue, if you want to write it down in a notebook and like next year, if you want to roast someone for being wrong, feel free. But right now, not worth it. So what I would say is, I would avoid drama for sure. Next, over the next few months, you have the Justice card, which is you, which is awesome. Whenever you show up as yourself, it puts you in a position of power and strength, allows you to get what you want. So your next few months are probably going to be pretty good for you, Libra. I think you're taking a more neutral approach to life just in general. The Justice card can represent just being in a neutral position. And so I feel that. I'm not really getting much about justice in general. I think this is just talking about how you are showing up in the reading. Next, in the area of your closest relationships, you have the Judgment card. This area of the reading represents all relationships in your life. Sometimes I feel when the Justice card comes up in this part of the reading, it says that things are changing, which we talked about with the Death card. These people are rising up out of these coffins. Coffin is their old life. Outside the coffin is their new life. They're being asked to step into a new life. this is part of life. I think sometimes it's like some people in your life will choose to stay behind, and some people will choose to move forward with you in life, right? And I just feel that you could be feeling that. It's like, that's it. I just feel like you're feeling that energy. Like some people are, staying behind and not coming with you into the future. And some people, and basically they're just staying the same. And some people are enjoying the changes you're making, and they're going to be supporting you, right? And so I think you're just like paying attention to connections and, like what they mean to you. The people, you're looking at the people with the Three of Pentacles who really support you. And like I said, I think that would be a good thing for you to do. Next, in the area of your future feelings, you have the Seven of Wands. I actually feel pretty good about this. Sometimes, like especially when the Seven of Wands comes up in a future position, it basically says you've built something in your life that you are trying to defend. Like if you've built something that's worth defending, that's probably pretty good. So again, I think that this is talking about you drawing boundaries, or, again, like I said, it's funny that it's showing up above the people on the Judgment card. I always look at the Seven of Wands as a card of drawing a line in the sand, where you're kind of putting up a boundary that says, if you meet this standard, you can enter into my life. If you don't, then you have to stay below these 7 wands, right? And so I feel a lot of you could be kind of doing that, where it's like you're basically making your boundaries known to people. You might not even have to say anything. It's like I think when we are in the right energy, we just naturally, repel what isn't right for us, and we attract what is, right? So you might not, this could just be the changes you're making are causing this to happen. You might notice that some friends start acting weird around you, or maybe they don't want to spend time with you or whatever. But, again, sometimes that's a good thing. The Seven of Wands is also a card of conviction. We do see some confidence here in this reading with the King of Wands. So the Seven of Wands says, when you know that something is going to be successful for you, that's when you will truly find success. So a lot of you could be doing things to, kind of believe in yourself more, which is probably pretty good. Probably your most important card here, Seven of Swords. Again, I wish I could give you more examples. Obviously, I don't know what all of you do, but I think there are things you can do, like leverage is a good word for this, right? I think this reading is saying, like, you don't have to work harder, especially when it comes to finances. But I think working with leverage, doing things like how you promote yourself, how you promote your business or yourself in your career or your job, and like how you show up, if you could figure out ways to do it in a better way, kind of like the dumb YouTube example I gave you, I feel that you would be making like a bigger impact, and you would probably get more of a result for the same amount of work, right? And I kind of feel that's what the Seven of Swords is encouraging you to do. You do also have the Three of Pentacles and the Seven of Swords. They both have these polka dots right here. The lady on this card has polka dots. So the polka dots in the tarot represent needing to have more fun, needing to not take things too seriously, and it's popping into my head with both of them showing up here. So I definitely feel that this month, it might be a good month to carve out some time to do things that you enjoy. With the Knight of Cups and the Ace of Wands, you have the Empress. Yeah, Empress is abundance and, good things coming in for you. Also says you're very attractive at this time, Libra. I always make that joke. Libra is the most attractive sign, so of course you are. But, again, it doesn't matter what gender you are. If you're looking for love, I would definitely put yourself out there. Again, the Empress, she has that scepter. All she has to do to get this abundance is wave that scepter in front of her. She is not working hard, right? So again, that is a big theme for you. Not even just this month, but I think for like years to come, because you have Saturn and Neptune in Aries, right? Even though they're both going to be retrograde in Pisces this month, it doesn't matter. They've both already entered in, and they will both enter back in January and February of next year. So, your work becoming more efficient is definitely a key. With the King of Wands, you have the King of Swords. If you have a person on your mind, it's basically like, will they talk to me? Will they not talk to me? King of Swords is silent. King of Swords can also represent a person that either you don't know yet, or a person that you kind of know but you haven't talked to yet. So it's kind of like that question is popping into my head. Also a great card for knowledge and wisdom. So it's coming up in the area of what's on your mind. And the King of Swords is very smart. So I would, anything that I would be using those skills, because you probably know enough to be successful. With the Death card, you have the Seven of Swords. Didn't we talk about that on the Death card? I'm pretty sure that I was talking all about the Seven of Swords with the Death card or whatever. Yeah, it's like changing your approach. Again, the King is dead on the Death card. It's like the way you've always done things is over. It's time to do things. It's time for your approach to change, and it's time to be excited about that. So I think finding better ways, especially to work in work or business or career, is going to be the most beneficial thing for you here, Libra. And, that's what I would focus on with this card. With the Queen of Pentacles, you have the King of Wands again. So King of Wands about, being bold, being assertive, being confident, all those other things. I feel this is probably something you have been working on for a long time. I even think, whether you realize it or not, it's like sometimes I think the universe makes us work on things. And, so for example, if you're sitting there saying, well, I've been in a bunch of situations where I wasn't confident, it's like, yeah, probably. The universe has been trying to get you to be more confident. So, but I think you are, which is good. With the Three of Pentacles, yes, you have the Emperor. So again, we have divine counterparts right here. If you're hoping for a connection, I love the Three of Pentacles for work, or for connections, because usually it's like two people who really want to work on the same things, or two people who want the same thing out of a connection. But definitely could be a divine counterpart coming in for you. This is also just great for work, which, this reading, seems to be about work. Or, there seems to be a theme going on here about the work that you do. And this would represent balancing your energies, your like masculine and feminine energies inside of you. It would be about kind of like coming up with creative solutions, Seven of Swords twice, and using those creative solutions to create more success. With the Justice card, yeah, you have the Page of Cups. Definitely a good love month for you, Libra. I mean, going this way. Like I said, this could be a person that's on your mind already, or someone that you already know or that you're already thinking about. And so the Page of Cups is like an admirer. Looks pretty good. I think this might be a little slow for you, Libra, for some reason. That's like what I feel intuitively. But at the same time, is that like the end of the world? No. With the Judgment card, you have the Eight of Wands. Yes, listen, right? It's a great month to listen to the messages you're receiving. This is showing up in the area of your closest relationships, which is pretty good. It could say that, the Eight of Wands is a great card for communication, socializing, things like that. So, it could be a very social month for you, or a lot of social opportunity. But I also feel that it is asking you to just listen in general, like in your life. And I think you need to listen to your inner voice, right? You need to listen to yourself, like what you feel is right. You start with that Imam card, which is the root of your chart. It's like we have the MC in your chart, the top of your chart, 10th house. Then we have the 4th house, the IC, the Imam. And I feel that you like all decisions need to come from you, and that's what I would pay attention to with this card. With the Seven of Wands, you have the Two of Swords. Yeah, Two of Swords is about being flexible. That's what I feel for you. That's not really the only thing it means, but, the Two of Swords can be being stuck in a stalemate. Like she's trying to make a decision, but she's not. And I feel like being flexible this month, or it's encouraging like flexibility. I would also kind of like argue here that with that Judgment card, it would be asking you to like look at the evidence, right? She has the blindfold on. The blindfolds in the tarot represent not trusting your intuition. So, it could say that, maybe if you're trying to decide between anything this month, that, the intuition part needs to come into it to help you make a better choice. With the Seven of Swords, you have the Devil. I would be careful of toxic people in general in your life, like people, and especially right now. I think that what we all need to be paying attention to is people who tell us not to do things out of fear, right? I always say people can come from two places, fear and love, right? We need to make sure that we are listening to people who come from the right place. That doesn't mean that people who come from fear are bad people. It's like sometimes people just want to protect us, or, they think they are protecting us with advice or whatever that really isn't protecting us. So I would make sure you're paying attention to that. You have this Needle and Thread card. It says a sincere wish granted. There you go. Love it. Again, it is kind of a lucky month, October. Really, it is. There are some lucky things happening, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was some sort of wish. You have this April card and this Fair Man. It says dealings or relationships with a man with blonde, gray, or white hair. So this could be the man that you're attracting. I hope not, because this guy looks creepy. But You could be attracting someone who is born in April. You could be attracting someone in the month of April. Next to that, you have the love card. Obviously, there's a lot of love in this reading. And again, if you don't want love, or if you already have it, you could be improving your current relationship, or this could say you're doing more of what you love, which also is a good thing to do. You have this camel card. It says, persevere and you will overcome problems. Yeah, my thing right now, we have Pluto retrograde to the beginning of Aquarius. It's at like 1.2 degrees or something like that. And it will, it's going to go direct in the middle of the month. And so it's very close to that Capricorn energy. And I think what it's doing is it's making, it's kind of like making us turn molehills into mountains, basically. So I would say, like, any weird little things that pop up, don't worry so much about them. You have the Spear. It says, heartache over what you no longer have. Knight of Cups. Things have changed. We've entered into a new world. And, I feel that realizing that and looking for better ways of doing things is going to be very helpful for you. Pretty simple. This looks really good, Libra. I do like it. So thank you for being here. Make sure to like and leave a comment. Really helps me out. And definitely enjoy your month.